ready to rumble. Welcome to Joe Jackin with Bob and TC on IntellectualRadio.com. Again, that's IntellectualRadio.com. I'm your host, B.O.B. Bob, but I will go by the name of Robert Lee Orr Jr. if you insist on being formal. And as always, from the south side of Chicago, Illinois, give it up for my main man, Martise T.C. Wash Sr. What's up with you, boy?
What up, Bob? What's up, man?
What's going on, man? How you doing? Turn the mic up.
Yeah,
that's good. Earl Winfrey, how you doing? What's up, man? How did Turk do in his game, man?
Yeah, he won his first game, man. I think
what did he do today?
Force, man, his little bitty ball. He had 10.
He had 10.
12.
He had 12.
He did.
I know you told Turk the gun. That's why Turk be gunning.
No, I tell him first, you be the point guard.
You be the point guard
they
first.
miss 5 passes, you turn to Westbrook.
You turn to Westbrook. Well, the call in number 708-223-8953. You can catch the show on IntellectualRadio.com. You also can catch the show on YouTube live. We stream live every Sunday. So, and you can catch it if you're friends with us on Facebook. You can catch the show on Facebook Live. So, anyway, if you got any questions about shows, feel free to call Earl Winfrey. He got a bunch of time slots. I ain't gonna say a bunch. He probably got a few time slots, because he got about over 60 shows on Intellectual Radio. So if you got some aspirations about having your own show, make sure you call the number 708-223-8953, and he'll tell you what's available. I'm excited today, man. We got a special guest in the building today.
Legend of me,
a legend of both of us, man.
That'll be known.
I'm gonna tell you, hey, six degrees of separation. Sometimes it benefits you. It benefits the situation. He wrote a book called Long Shot. Mr. Craig Hodges is in the building with us today.
Yeah. And
phenomenal book. It's a phenomenal book. When I'm saying that, you know how sometimes people come on your show or whatever, and you throw out all these accolades, these praise, this phony praise. This is not phony praise. When I mean, I got ADD. I got a short attention span. So when I pick up a book and it captivated me from the intro. I don't even know how to say that word. The prelude. The prologue was good. I was like, man, I was just every time I was reading the book, trying to get my thoughts together on how I was going to approach the conversation, it was like I was almost tempted to go past a chapter to get to the chapters that I was more intrigued in. But when I didn't do it, I'm glad I didn't do it, because I was finna miss something that was building on itself. And it was crazy, because if you'd have did that, you would have like, because you radio personality, we short-minded sometimes. We want to get our little ways and get our little questions together, and we want to be able to have us a good show. But this book didn't allow me to do that. It just did not allow me to do that. This is a phenomenal book, man. This is more than just a basketball player talking about basketball. This is about a freedom fight, a generational pattern of a village raising his kid, raising a kid. And Greg Hodges is articulate writer. You know what we gonna do? We gonna go on a quick break. We're gonna bring Craig Hodges in. We don't want to waste his time, because there's a lot of traffic out there. So we got up here to come support us today, and we really appreciate it. So we're gonna take a quick break, and we're gonna bring Mr. Craig Hodges on Jaw Jacking with Bob and TC
in the field.
What's up?
Snatcher. In this corner we have the folk body snatcher. Come on.
Welcome back to Jaw Jacking with Bob and TC on IntellectualRadio.com. TC, let's bring him in real quick. You got to bring him in. From Chicago Heights, Illinois, let's give it up for our main man, Craig Hodges.
In the
what's up, man?
Brothers, I appreciate y'all. Thank you. And first of all, I want to thank God for giving us a chance to meet peacefully. And for me, it's cool to get a chance to fellowship with the brothers on a day like today.
Yeah, from Chicago Heights, man. You grew up in Chicago Heights, man.
Yes,
Happy Black History Month.
No question about it, man. It's always great to be here to actually give our part of what the ancestors gave us, man. And for me, to know the impact of what Black history means to me and what it's had, the impact that it has on my life, I always try to make sure I can make as many, I don't call them appearances, but I just a fellowship and sharing of information and knowledge in this month that I think is critical, but especially at this day and time, I think is even more critical.
Okay. Well, we want to try to, I mean, we can't go through your whole book, so, but we want to
They need to buy it, right?
Oh, yeah, you got to buy the book. Yeah, this is a copy of the book.
Yes, sir.
Right here, so
Yes, sir.
you guys can see it. It's Long Shots, just Facebook. You can see it right here. You can see it here. It's Long Shot.
Yes, sir.
The triumphs and struggles of an NBA freedom fighter.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks, GC. But what I want to do is we want to approach this conversation like this.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I want to congratulate you for being a head basketball coach at Richie's High School.
Thank you, man.
Oh yeah, my daughter's school.
Yeah,
shout out.
Yes, sir.
Because it's you are alumni of Rich East.
No doubt.
And that story was kind of interesting because you actually started in Bloom because you went to,
No doubt.
and then what grade did you transfer to Rich East?
After my freshman year, my freshman high school team was 31-1, and
Wow.
the freshman that was coming in behind me, he and I grew up together. His name is Raymond McCoy. He wound up being probably the top point guard in the nation in front of Isaiah Thomas. He is a McDonald's All-American. And our trajectory was that once we got together at Bloom, we were going to win state championships. So we were prepared to win 3 state championships in a row. And my family moved to Park Forest looking for a better opportunity for themselves. And to me, it was probably heart-wrenching because it was culture shock. I was going from a totally Black environment and as far as where I lived, but then the school was probably 67% Black, and then going to Rich East where it was 40 Black students out of 1,500. So it was a total different environment. But at the same time, it gave me an opportunity to become more well-rounded. And as far as when I got to college, I was prepared to be able to sit in an environment with different people and be able to handle myself and be confident and speak with, and to be articulating what I spoke about. So I think it helped me, as well as from the basketball end. I had Steve Fisher, who was the same coach for the Fab Five, and he's coaching at San Diego State now. But at that time in his career, he was a strict disciplinarian. So for me, it was 3.5 hours every day from the time I was a sophomore until my senior year. And when I look back on it, it helped prepare me for what I was going to get with Don Nelson when I got to Milwaukee. And we had 30 straight days of tour days at 3.5 hours a day. So it prepared me to be mentally tough, to be able to handle the rigors of staying in the gym for 3.5 to 4 hours and be mentally focused for that entire time.
I want to start the questions off like this because I want you to describe, I want you to describe from Chicago Heights.
Yes, sir.
You said it takes a village.
No question.
That's the concept.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So with that concept, it takes a village. You brought up some important people. You brought up your grandparents.
No problem.
Your grandfather, Bruce.
Yes.
And your grandmother, Dorothy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we need some of that. We need some of that smothered steak. Smothered steak, mashed potatoes, and green beans and cornbread.
All day, man.
She was known
especially
for, right?
today.
So we want to bring up that household,
yes,
the
sir.
way that household was, because you said it take a village, and you mentioned a lot of people in your book. And I also want you to tie this in. I want you to talk about redlining. And in spirit of Black History Month, I want you to tie in Dr. Charles Gavin.
Absolutely.
In that play.
No question about it. I feel like, when I talk about Raymond McCoy and myself, we discuss all the time the difference in our support bases. And for me, my support base is one of education, one of hospitality, one of being kind to people. But there was a stern underpinning of it. My grandfather was a stickler for everybody get up and work. So it wasn't no welfare going on in the house. Everybody was going to get up and get on their grind. And for me, I was blessed to have had a support system that allowed me to find my passions in life early. My first passion was education because my aunts drove it in me how important and how fun. They made education fun for me from the time as far as back as I can remember. And in that, they taught me how to write and reading and writing was always first, and they made it so that I understood the importance of student athleticism even before the term was apropos. So my granddad taught everybody in the community as far as sports. He was the mainstay in as far as getting track people, football players, all of that, because at that time, like we said, it was a segregated situation where in Chicago Heights, on the east side of Chicago Heights, once you went under the viaduct on Lincoln Highway, you were on the east side, and that was a physical barrier. And we were taught at a young age to be back on the east side before dark. And during that time, I was blessed to be a part of the movement and not know it. And as far as my mom was the secretary for the Civil Rights Organization at that time, and they were fighting redlining for housing and being able to get equal opportunities within the context of mortgage loans and the like. So it was cool that I was blessed to see it during that period of time. And then when I had a chance to go away to Long Beach State and study under some of the best minds in the country as far as Black history was concerned, I saw how I was part of the movement throughout my lifetime. So it wasn't anything out of the ordinary for me to continue on that trajectory as far as going forward when I got into professional sports.
So when you're talking about redlining,
Mm-hmm.
when you're talking about redlining, you brought up this story about Charles Gavin.
Absolutely.
The school that you went to,
Right.
when you went there, it
Yes.
was named Benjamin Franklin.
Absolutely.
Right. And so Charles Gavin,
Right.
Dr. Charles Gavin.
Right.
Let's tell the audience about that. Tell
Yes.
us about it.
Yes, Dr. Gavin was, at one point in time, he was the world's foremost bone specialist. He would come back to Chicago Heights and give free medical services to our people. And at the end of his life, the federal government actually brought up charges of tax evasion because he wasn't keeping track of what he was doing. It was more a thing of he was living up to his Hippocratic oath. And for us, he was a live, real hero. And it was so smooth how our educators did it, because at that point in time in Chicago Heights, especially, the political climate was such that had the parents themselves wanted to change the school, or the Black administrators and educators, they wouldn't have had the chance to do it. So what they did was, from day one of my 6th grade year, everything was predicated to Dr. Gavin, and on all levels of our elementary school, and that we were prodded and somewhat manipulated into a petition campaign that we ran as 6th graders. So it wound up being that our petitions got all the way to Jesse Jackson. So Jesse Jackson came out the night that we changed the name of the school from Benjamin Franklin, who was one of their heroes, to one of our live heroes that grew up in our community, came back to our community, and showed a lot of leadership for us as young people. And we applauded him for that. But the sad part about it is, probably about 5 or 6 years ago, they tore down the school.
Really?
So yeah, it's torn down now. And I went to Chicago Heights before they tore it down to tell them that it was a perfect situation for us to have a technical STEM type academy, because the population has changed in the community, but the school and the structure was perfect, but they wanted to regentrify. So
when you're talking about a village, and TC, I want you,
Yeah.
you can jump in anytime.
Yeah, I do. I want.
Go ahead.
First of all, I want y'all to
Yeah.
explain to my people who listen what redlining is. Let them know exactly what y'all talking about. Right?
okay, redlining it's the impact where, at a point in time in the history, there were certain areas that was off limits to Black folks, and Dr. Gavin's family was one of those families that wanted to move from the east side of Chicago Heights to the west side of Chicago Heights. The red line was actually Halsted, and when his family moved to the west side of the Heights off of Western Avenue, they burned down the house 3 times before they could get it built, and they finally got it done. But that goes to show the type of ferocity that racism possessed during that period of time in this country, and that you had Black folks that were fighting hard for their families because they had a certain place where they wanted their families to be able to live and flourish. And at that point in time, I truly believe that those people put their lives on the line really paid the ultimate sacrifice for us to be able to do what we did today.
Okay, I was just reading this while y'all was talking.
Mhm.
I just want to read this.
Yes.
Just back of this to the people out there for real, because it's just a lot of people I don't think really know the plight,
Right,
know
right.
everything about. So I think they should hear about this. All right, as a member of the 1991 World Champion Chicago Bulls, a dashiki-clad Hodges delivered a handwritten letter to President George H.W. Bush, demanding that he do more to address racism and economic inequality. Hodges was also a vocal players representative, helped lead a boycott against Nike, and spoke out forcefully against police brutality in the wake of the Rodney King beating. But his outspokenness cost him dearly. In the prime of his career, after 10 NBA seasons, Hodges was blackballed from the NBA for using his platform as a professional athlete to stand up for the justice. In this powerful, passionate, and captivating memoir, Hodges shares the stories, including encounters with Nelson Mandela, Coretta Scott King, Jim Brown, R. Kelly, Michael Jordan, and others from his lifelong fight for equality for African Americans. And I got a quote down here from Kareem Abdul-Jabbar that said, Craig has written a very in-depth portrait of his struggles and triumphs in the NBA and beyond. I just want my people to hear this because they're going to get this book.
Appreciate you,
You got to
man.
get this
Appreciate you. And one of the things for me is that, you know, people have been, it took me 18 months to totally finish the manuscript and give it to the publisher. And to see the impact of what was going on during that period of time, Black Lives Matter, the number of murders were going on. And it was very hard for me to sit still and not accept some of the invites that I had to speak at some of these rallies and some of the events. And my mindset was at that point that while I was in the midst of writing it, that this would give me the platform. This would give me a similar platform that I had when I played, but it could be more solution based, that it would be more on my terms to speak about, as opposed to on terms of somebody else's sound bite and you bring me on and you have what you want to mold it the way you want to mold it. I wanted to be able to have a platform that I could speak from independently, that could give us, and the one of the main parts of it is that it's an economic development vehicle. So when we ask people to purchase it, it's not about Hodge, it's about us being able to harness through our blessings, through our passions, through our gifts that God created us with, that can we somehow monetize that? And this is what this is, to monetize it, take a portion of it, put it back, re-educate, reprogram,
Exactly.
create programs and the like, because it's only through our consistent and unified effort that this thing is going to change, man. So in 1991, when we were winning championships, there was 900 murders in the city. I think we headed in that direction again. And I tell people, man, it's a lot of money in our death, and we have to figure out how to keep that money from circulating that way and bring it back home, because I truly believe that it's an economic problem and not one that's that we psychopathic and that we cold-blooded murderers. I don't think that's it. And I think it's a lot more going on that's not being said. So when I hear how many murders have been committed by somebody in a black SUV, those things bring something insidious in my mind that's going on, that's bigger than what we're actually seeing and hearing from the talking heads of the media.
Your mom made this statement. She
Yes.
said, always know where it is you go, where it is you go to find what black folks are up to. Like, what does that statement mean to you?
Well, my mom, and it's wild because she's going through some mental issues now compared to, and you know, and that's the part that I so wanted to make sure I got this done, because the stuff that she taught me was so heavy, but at the same time so simple. And that statement to me is like, when I look at where you have what they're talking about today as classic example. You have the news and you have the fake news. What are you getting? What are you getting? And when you go get it, she always told me, okay, be careful of the source that you're getting your information from. And when you get it, go deeper into it. Delve into it and look into it. And one thing she was real cool about was words. She was a big stickler, and she was a big stickler on making sure that you knew what a word meant, you knew how the word was built, how the word was put together, and the foundation of it. And it's one of the things that she used to have this game that she played with my boys when they were younger, that they would come in the house from hooping or whatever, and they'd be speaking slang, and she would tell them to articulate. And that was so cool because it put something on their minds as far as knowing how to put things together and how to make sure people understand your position. And I think from that statement, for me, just made me look into things a lot deeper than what the surface may show you.
Mm. You also mentioned, and you also mentioned that when you first went to college with Tex Winter.
Yes, sir.
He recruited you. What college did he recruit you
He was
from?
at Northwestern.
Northwestern.
He was at Northwestern, but it's too cold, man. I've been there for 18 years.
Northwestern?
Yes, sir. It's too cold.
That's it.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Evanston, man. And it's even colder up there in the Heights. So for me, it was like all the schools in the Big Ten recruited me, and I didn't know where I wanted to go to school. I told the Big Ten early after my junior year that I didn't really want to play anywhere in the Midwest. And then I got recruited by schools in Texas, Wyoming. Yeah, man, places that I knew socially wasn't cool for me. And I didn't know nothing about Black studies at that time. So when
you almost was a Wyoming cowboy. Right?
Exactly. And the cool piece about Wyoming for me was me and my buddy went to Wyoming, and I was going to say sisters, but they had these women, because they were white girls. They had these women coming to us and telling us if we sign, they'll sleep with us. And my boy, he was ready to go, man. Where you sign, brother? My mama told me before I left, don't sign nothing before I get back here, and I ain't signing nothing.
Well, they said furniture and everything.
Yeah, it's crazy. They wanted to give us all that stuff, man. And my granddaddy was not about that. And I knew it, but at the same time, I'm like, man, this is opportunity for my folks. They getting ready. If I sign this, they got free furniture. They going to get a crib, all this kind of craziness. And I'm like, so the day it came for them to come sign me, I knew they were coming because they had told my high school coach. My people didn't know because I was supposed to tell them yesterday. So I'm thinking all night how I'm going to play this. I knew my granddaddy always had my back. So if I wanted anything to go down, he was going to always be my blocker. So I bounce in from school. The recruiters are sitting on his front room couch. He look at me when I come in the front door like, I jet right to the basement. I go right to the basement. He come down the basement. Boy, what's up? I say, Grandpops, they was going to give me some furniture for y'all. He's like, what? I was like, yeah, they was going to give y'all some washer, dry, all that. He's like, boy, look, don't worry about us. It's about you. If you don't want to go there, just tell me. I don't want to go there. All right, wait right here a minute. I look out the basement window. I see these cats walking away with their heads down. I'm like, cool. Thank you, Grandpops. But that kind of stuff is the support base that I had, man, that gave me confidence, gave me passion that what I was doing was cool for me. It may not be for everybody, but if it's for you. And my granddaddy always told me that it's not, what you do with your life is what you do with your life. Just make sure that it's something positive.
Tex Winter.
Yes.
You were saying Tex Winter, he recruited you,
right?
But he told you, he gave you this example because you was a big fan of UCLA
all day long, man.
All day long. UCLA with Lou Alcindor.
Yes. 80 in a row.
Oh yeah.
So
Tex Winter did something that was kind of phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
You tell a story. I want to tell your story.
I had told Tex when he was recruiting me for Northwestern, we played a game right after my senior year. It was the first City Suburban All-Star game. And he came to that game, and I was high scorer in the game. So after the game, he approached me and another brother from Thornton High School, Phil Gary, who would be my roommate once we went to Long Beach together. And he told me, he's like, yeah, I just got the job at Long Beach State. I want you to come and visit. I was like, no, you don't want me to come and visit. Where do I sign? He's like, Craig, you got to see it. I was like, no, I know the history. And I started naming the coaches, the players that they had and all that kind of thing. He's like, well, you know the history of it. I was like, yeah, I studied all the teams on the West Coast because I wanted to go to UCLA because John Wooden and all of that. So he just kind of locked that in his mind. So it comes time for me to go on my trip. We fly into Los Angeles International Airport. He picks me up. First place he takes me is Pauley Pavilion on UCLA's campus. Walks me in, looks around. He's like, man, this is nice, ain't it, Craig? I was like, yeah. You're like, let's go, because Long Beach ain't nothing like this. But it was cool because he kept it 100 with me. And like I said, he's like another father to me. And to this day, I continue to thank him for, even from afar, for the stuff that he gave me from a basketball end, and from the end of knowing how to take it to a professional level and think like a professional, because that's the only way you can be one.
The concept you wrote in your book, The Encounter, you described it like this. He took you to UCLA, grabbed this ladder. Y'all walked up this ladder, and you looked into the rim.
Right.
And the rim was big, and he showed you. You didn't realize the rim was that big, right?
Right. And he, go ahead.
The word was illusions.
Absolutely.
The word was illusions. And that struck a chord with me in a whole different way. Illusions. The word illusions.
No doubt.
It goes farther than just basketball or anything else. It was preparing you mentally to say that these guys may be better than us, or these guys, but you can compete. It's an illusion that they're better.
Absolutely. And a fact of that, and a point to that, is before every game, most teams will put the other team stuff on the board, and Tex would always put our offensive stuff on the board. And he's like, I could go over there and give them my playbook. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about what they do. I'm just concerned about how we come out, run our offense, and play defense. So when we go out for a jump ball, it'll be, Tex who you want, guard who guards you. And that was it. Guard who guards you, help each other defensively, and move the ball when you play on offense.
You taught me how to brag reading this book, man. I learned how to brag reading your book, man. You just be talking about different times when you was the first time you went into an encounter, and you just like, man, I hit 9 jumpers in a row or 14 jumpers in a row, didn't hit no rim. I was like, man, I caught that through reading the line. I was like, this bragging right here. I like this type of talk, just off of the confidence that you have to carry, knowing that when you show up, it's going to be a different impact for Greg here.
Right. And that's one of the things that I think it's a young brother that's working on his, for the 3-point contest in high school right now. He's Marshawn. And Marshawn Baines is a young cat, left-hand shooter. And he understands how and why his ball goes in the basket. And I think when that happens, and you see that if I do this the same way every single time, this is going to be results. And Tex walking up on that ladder also made the point that 2 baskets can fit in the basket at one time. So there's no reason for me not to make one. So I don't want to hear you talking about a slump or any of that. Just put the ball, visualize where the 2 balls come together, and put the ball on that point wherever you're at on the court. And being able to take that visualization into practice is something that takes a lot of hours of work, man.
That's a true point. 2 basketballs.
Absolutely. So when you put them up there, they're going to squeeze together, they're going to stop, and then they're going to fall through.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Okay, well, speaking of basketball, my people listen, we sport fans. They got them in the building. Was Michael Jordan like that for real on that court?
Brother, I tell people, it's two people I played with in my life. I played with a brother at Long Beach State. His name was Ricky Williams. He's 6'1", probably 170 pounds at the most. Probably the most ferocious competitor until I played with MJ. I played with MJ 4 seasons. Never lost a wind sprint. Played with him 4 seasons. I've never seen anybody take him out of his comfort zone. And when I say comfort zone, I mean that, okay, he's on a run of 10 in a row. And you throw Charles Oakley, Patrick Ewing, and Trent Tucker, or Gerald Wilkins. All of them. Wilkins is the initial defender. MJ catches the ball in the post. Here comes Patrick. Here comes Oakley. 3 people around him. Now, it's 2 people wide open. Wide open. He knows this. But in his mind, he feels as though, and he knows because he's done it, that it's a better chance of me making this with 3 people on me than you making it with 1. And the mental toughness in that, and the willingness to say, okay, if I take this shot with 3 people on me with 3 seconds left in the game and Scotty was cutting to the basket wide open, if I miss it, I'm going to have to deal with that. And he's willing to do that. And I think that's the difference between world champion, greatest in that title of greatest, to be part of even the conversation. That's why he's in it. Likewise, I've never seen anybody more competitive about anything than Michael Jordan. And it's a good thing because it only enhances the team and bringing their levels up. So I tell people all the time, most of our practices were more competitive than any games except for maybe the playoffs.
There's one quick question I want to. You don't have to answer it, but I want to clear it up right here. I ain't coached or nothing. It's fresh out the top. Kobe or LeBron?
Kobe.
That's all I want to hear. What can you say a little bit louder for me?
Kobe. And the reason I say Kobe is that Kobe's done his thing, man. It's proven. Now, and I don't take nothing from LeBron. See, everybody coattails on the great player before him. So a lot of what LeBron has, he talked to Kobe about training methods. Kobe talked about MJ about training methods. MJ talked about Dr. J about training methods. Dr. J talked to Connie Hawkins about training methods. You feel me? So it's a generational connection because every generation has a chance to catch the coattail of that last generation going out with just enough time to pick their brains and steal enough from their games to take their game to the next level. So MJ, like for me, I tell people, it's Bill Russell, MJ, Kobe, LeBron.
Thank you. Go ahead, Bob. You take
No,
off from there.
take
off.
But really, let me.
Yeah.
Bill Russell, Kareem, MJ.
Okay.
And then Kobe and down, man.
Kareem was a monster.
Absolutely. With one shot, a skyhook. And you score more points than anybody in the history with one shot. That's off the chain.
That's pretty tough, man. That's pretty tough, man. Can you say Michael Jordan was Tom Brady before Tom Brady was Tom Brady back and out on the White House?
Yeah. Well, yeah, MJ. Well, MJ was MJ, man. I tell people, he's a national icon. He's this, so he could do what he wants to, you know what I'm saying? And it's going to be very, very, very little fallout, and Tom Brady is at that point now in his career where, you basically control whatever sphere you want to control, you're going to have a chance to do that. And that's a blessing, man. So you impact a lot of lives and you earn a whole lot of paper.
Let me ask you this question.
Yes.
How did it impact the team? The Jordan rules,
right?
Like the Jordan rules is built for Jordan, but the whole team is getting affected with the Jordan rules because that other team is playing against all of y'all with that same aggressive nature, trying to rattle all y'all.
No doubt.
How did that affect you and the other teammates?
Well, one of the biggest things was communication. So I'm a guard. I'm guarding Joe Dumars or Isaiah in the back court. Rick Mahorn passes the ball in and goes to the top of the key. Know I'm going to get an Isaiah or Joe, and he's going to come up and lay a back pick on me. Who's ever guarding Rick got to communicate. So we got to talk to each other. So one of the biggest issues that we had initially with not beating the bad boys was our lack of communication, and communication on not only talking on defense, but communication on what advantages we had when they kicked our behinds. And the last time when everybody was crying, we all figured out that we got to go back to the drawing board. Everybody go home this summer. No cigars, no beer, no wine, no women. We on winning the championship. And I think when we came back that following training camp, our intensity level was that we didn't really even need field of coaches. It was just a matter that we weren't going to be beat. And what we figured out was that through this communication, instead of when Rodman comes over to slam MJ, we're going to sprint over there, pick him up, walk him to the line. Don't allow him a chance to talk to none of their players. Same thing with Scotty. Scotty would get into a thing. If he got knocked down by Rodman, he ready to talk to him, as opposed to get your behind up and walk to the free throw and knock down these two. Now they behind the 8 ball. So once we figured out that your bullying tactics was just really telling us that you couldn't handle our athleticism. And once we figured out if we move the ball and play the way we're capable of playing and just get our butts up off the ground and go to the free throw line and don't be crying to the refs and go ahead and play, we eliminate them. And we were able to do that. And I think that was one of the high points in Chicago basketball history, is when they had to walk off our court because they knew that their reign and their run was over.
I'm glad Scotty figured it out, man. I was nervous. They was punking Scotty. I'm like, come on, Scotty. Like, come on, man. Scotty hit Mike.
Man, that situation was crazy, man. So we're on the bus. We're on the bus to the Palace, and there's something going on. You looking at him, and the brother is looking like, man. You could tell that something wasn't right. So we go out and shoot around before the game, and he's like, man, I can't even hardly see, man. My head hurting so bad. Went back to the locker room. He migraine. He can't stand no light. So now they got him wrapped up in towels. And we're like, man, okay, this is gonna be a tough one. And I think all of those, and I'm telling my students and my athletes now, is that, you got to go through those processes, man. You got to take them lumps, and then them lumps are the lessons, so you can give out some lumps, and you got to take them and make sure you're able to get off the ground and keep working on your games. And I think that's the thing that we were able to do, and that's why we had to thank Tex Winter and Phil for being smart enough to get arranged to Tex, because we had an offense that was truly before its time. Not before its time, but it was truly a reset for what was happening in the NBA as far as isolation basketball was concerned. Tex brought in the system where everybody could get touches, and the more touches that everybody gets, the better defensive team you're going to be.
Tex, Tex taught you a lot.
No question, man. No question.
He said something. He said he came in. I guess he found out a lot of your players on the basketball team in your book. You said
right.
Was smoking marijuana.
Right.
Marijuana. Mm-hmm. And why don't you talk about that a little?
Yeah. So we're excited college students living in California, having a ball. We travel to Marquette, and we travel with our ganja, and we're in the hotel. We come out of the hotel, going to the game. The crazy part is that the whole team is in one room before we go to get on the bus, and we passing around the room full of smoke. We go to the game, and at this point, Marquette's probably gone on like a 12-0 run. Tex calls a timeout, and we all come to the huddle. We sitting there waiting for what's getting ready to go down, and he's looking at it. He's like, and Tex with his swing, guys, administration tells me I got a team full of potheads. And at that point in time, you could see everybody's heart just drop, like, oh man, we're getting ready to get expelled, right? And he looks at the 6'9" kid that he's from Redondo High School. That's another story. And he's like the main guy. So, Kevin Ty, they tell me you're the ringleader. And I'm looking at Tex mean mugging him right now, because that's my boy, right? Craig, you don't like me talking about your boy, do you? No, Tex, I don't like it, but let's go win. So we go out and we bought the game back, but we got beat. But that was a lesson for everybody in as far as it's college, man. And I think, those are lessons that you learn in college of when it's time to do your thing, it's time to do your thing. And when it's not, it's not. It's time for work. And I think it taught me the necessary principles in as far as how to have a good time and when to have a good time and when it's time for you to make sure that you're on top of your game. And he also taught us that, your assets have to outweigh your liabilities, and you can't let those liabilities, whether it be fun or whether it be you hanging out too late or whatever, affect what you have to produce when it comes to making somebody's basketball team or making somebody's professional franchise, for sure.
We really appreciate your transparency, man. I mean, it's unheard of. But let me ask you another question. Chapter 7.
Chapter 7.
Carlita.
Did you read her book?
Did I read her book?
Yeah.
No, I didn't read
her book. Came out last year.
No,
I pulled it up today and read a couple excerpts.
Yeah. I know he just told me that.
Yeah.
I didn't even know she had it. I ain't never even know about it. So
yeah, it's all great.
Until I read your book. Chapter 7. I don't
Man, talk, brother. Come on,
right.
Man, it's Joe Jack. He with the gloves on.
Look, I read that book, man. I read that chapter, man. I was sitting up here reading the book, right? Inspired. I was ready to call Madeline, like, Madeline, girl, this book good, right? I read chapter 7, and I was like, whoa. I stopped. I got off the book and called TC. Like, man, okay. So everybody knows
y'all need this book.
Let him frame it.
Yeah, they need this book, man.
And see, that's why we almost need to just you gotta make sure you frame this right, because this is something enticing to make somebody go buy the book.
Okay, this is chapter 7. Carlita, we're gonna go describe it like you described it. First of all, you hustled her away from your boy Phil.
Okay.
You walked up on Phil. Phil was out there trying to help with the car.
Right.
And you just brought up with your your presence and your Craig Hodges. He came with your Craig Hodges,
right.
And you prayed to God to help you have a mechanical bone in your body for a second, right?
Yes, sir.
And y'all hit it off and y'all started going out. And the first time you took out on a date, y'all went to see Minister Farrakhan.
Absolutely.
Right? Which was kind of, that was player, man.
But see, at the time, like for me, it wasn't nothing out the norm, man. For me, at that point in time,
it was different.
I'm a 4-year Black Studies major. When I come home from Long Beach State, one of my professors at Long Beach State was Dr. Khalid Muhammad, who was second in charge to the minister. So we would always know, when we can get a chance to go in, get the information, study. For me, it's cool when you can get a chance to have a personal friendship, personal relationship with one of our top leaders. And for me, I've been blessed to have had that type of rapport with most of our leadership and with a lot of our icons, Jim Brown, Kareem, and those type of brothers who are elders who have supported me in the stance that I've taken. So, a lot of stuff that goes on, man, for me is just a blessing, man. So when I took her to the mosque, it wasn't me trying to, I'm not a Muslim, so it wasn't me trying to make her into a Muslim or anything, but I wanted to see where her level of consciousness was, because that's where I'm going. You want to go hang? If you don't want to go hang, this is where I'm going anyway. So it wasn't like me actually saying, let me think, I'm gonna take it to the mosque. No, it wasn't like that. This one, what you doing today? I'm going to the mosque. You want to roll? Cool, let's roll.
So y'all end up getting married, and her brother brought this guy over the crib named Robert, young dude, 19,
right, who was actually at that point in the subways, getting on his keyboard, singing, doing his thing. And when I first heard him, I was like, man, that brother got talent. What's up? And my thing, man, is, especially at that point in my life, I had been in the league 4 years, and what I had understood is that your talent is God-given. Anybody that represents you should represent you pursuant to understanding that at no point in time should it ever be flipped where you're working for your agent. And when we talked, he showed me a contract that he had with an agent that was going to take like 65 to 70% of what he had. And I met with the agent, bought his contract out for like $4 or $5 grand or whatever it was. Went to the house in Milwaukee, burned it in the fireplace, told him, brother, you free. Now do what you need to do. Next day, went and got the brother $10,000 keyboard. Rest is history. That the deal that he has to this very day was made from what we did in Milwaukee.
Wow.
With his with the, what do you call it? The demo reel. Okay. We when I say we, me and Carlita, we paid for all of that, man. So, for me, it wasn't out of the norm for me to help somebody with talent, similar to now. If I see a young brother that's got talent on the basketball end and I can make a call for him, I'm gonna do that. And it was the same at that point. And things it happens, man, human nature. And for me, it was one of those situations where I think in response to the madness that we talking about, that I don't know if you want to go into that, but
I mean, it's up to you.
No, I'm just saying, we can say the madness, so it can kind of be like that cliffhanger that everybody waiting on it. But anyway,
Okay, yeah, go on,
you know what I'm saying? But anyway,
okay.
when the madness went down for me, it was more of a situation where I was so blessed to be playing at the time that it was the middle of the season, that it wasn't a time for me where it was summertime, people looking at me crazy, I'm feeling heat, I got time to think about revenge possibly. You know what I'm saying? That at that point never crossed my mind, because all of my stuff I turned inward from the standpoint of saying I was very serious at that time, very serious. When that went down, it made me take a whole nother look at myself, because I became you know how old boy Spicer is the CNL, the Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
That's how I was when that went down. I was the monologue for Sinbad. I was the monologue for Arsenio. None of these brothers called me and say, brother, you okay? Because we getting ready to clown you. Now, when it happened, when I came back to the Bulls, Phil Jackson called all the brothers together. Everybody stone faced. Yo, Hodge, you all right? Phil, you all right, Hodge? I said, yeah, man. He's like, all right. And then, oh man, they started ripping me like crazy. But that's professional sports. You accept that. So for me, it was cool that I was thick-skinned enough, but at the same time, I always remember the only thing that's really, really serious is black people. It's black people.
I commend you for the way you responded to that. I commend you, man. I commend you.
What would you have done?
Not what you've done.
We won't be sitting
I
here.
did the absolute opposite of what you
Won't we
did.
be sitting here?
No, we wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't. Y'all might be sitting here.
No.
And we ain't gonna tell you, because you got to get the book.
Get the book.
You got to get the book.
Chapter
We're
7.
not gonna tell you. Chapter 7,
Chapter
Carlita,
7.
is the bomb. It is.
Woo!
It's the bomb in a way that it really shows what type of man Craig Hodges is to share it.
Yes. Because
it's the bomb. It's the bomb, man. It really blew me away when I read that chapter, and I said, "Wow."
And honestly, one thing, like I always say, in all of the chapters, people that I mentioned that are notable to the degree like that, R. Kelly called him to let him know that it's coming. I want you to see what I wrote. If you got something that you want to add, or I want to hear it. Carly the same way. So, because I know it's going to be looked at from my position, but I want it to be accurate. So, like with her, from this standpoint, everybody that's listening to this, her stuff is online. Her book is available. You get her book, check it out if you like. Go online, see what so that you can get
both sides
of it, and don't and take it for what it's worth. And that was one of the reasons also for me writing it, because that was a critical part of my life.
That's enough. We gonna flirt with that, because I don't want that to be concluded as why you're here.
No.
Why you're here is one of the things that when you went to the White House, chapter 2 of your book, it highlighted your village and your own personal level of excitement for being a writer.
Right.
But I think that's what was missing in the story about you delivering a letter. This letter was delivered by an accomplished writer. So that makes all the difference in the world. An accomplished writer with almost, who used to actually practice political responses. So that's a different type of letter that's getting delivered. And that got looked over.
Right.
It got totally looked past. Like you talking about a political pundit handing a press secretary a letter. It so happened to play with the Bulls.
Yes, sir.
Now that part of it, you say you practiced this just as much as you did basketball.
No doubt about it. And for me, to this day, it's still a passion, man, to be able to think about and then be able to put it in print. And that to me is one of the coolest constructions. So when you build, I think about when we listen to this cat, what's the Supreme Court cat they got coming in now? They talk about him being a strict constructionist. And so many of our people don't understand that when we put words together, we're building something. And to see what comes out of that, to see what you can foster out of that. And for me right now is to see what type of economic vehicle I can build from putting words on paper that become business plans, that become actual viable entities. And I think we've been able to do it and help other entities thrive. And that's been my position with our athletes and entertainers, is that we have to become more visible in our communities. We have to become more active in creating economics in our communities, because if you take the money out of Winnetka and Northbrook, they're going to be fighting pretty soon. And I think that's the problem with us, is that we got to put some money in our hoods, and we who come from the hood, who have valuable talents, we have to start to utilize the value of our talents and connect it to the community. Similar to what every player that comes from China, every player that comes from an Eastern European country, you're not getting out of that country without that country being tied to that contract. And that's, so when you see the Houston Rockets with the Chinese emblem on their chest, we got to know what's going on, and that China is playing a role in that franchise. But we as a people haven't challenged the NBA to be able to use that same example for Newark, Brooklyn, South Side of Chicago, where these franchises actually have to have an economic input into those communities where they're existing. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've always pushed for. And it often goes on deaf ears because we don't have media like you brothers to be able to put it out there. But now we have, and you know the cold part, intellectual radio, you tell them what it is. Now, if you drop some heavy science on here, CNN gonna call this fake. Mm. So now you have to decipher what's what. Denzel said, it don't matter how true it is. It's who gets there first. And if I get there first, now you're gonna have to respond to my madness, whether it's true or not.
It was deep. I saw that.
Yeah, heavy.
Before let Bob close us out, I just want to say this personally, man. I mean, I watched growing up. You know what I'm saying? Brother. You had a shot. You won 3 times in a row. Let's put that out there.
Now, you know, so happy we was at the gym this morning, and brother could attest. We were working with the young brother going through the racks, and it was like 7 or 8 of them. I was like, hey, man, can I get in and get at least 1 rack? Brother's like, all right, man, you go after me. So I went through, we shot, I think, 15 balls. So I was 13 for 15.
I never believe that too. 13 for 15. I believe it. Yeah, real quick for my sister Tashima. She at work right now. She couldn't chance to call Craig Hodges. Just say what's up, Tashima.
How you doing, Shima? Peace and blessings.
That's what I'm talking
about. Don't work too hard. Work smart.
Right. She in Phoenix. There you
go. Where are your next events coming up for your book signings?
Yes, well, where are your next events coming up? February 28th at Barnes & Noble in Orland Park.
Orland Park.
Yes.
We definitely gonna be
We have Chicago Heights on Wednesday the 22nd, 4 to 6 at Chicago Heights Recreation Department, Hooping with Hodge.
Say it one more time. Let's go one more time.
Hooping with Hodge at Chicago Heights Recreation Center. That's the 22nd of February at 4 o'clock. On February 28th, we're at Barnes & Noble in Orland Park. From 5 to 7.
So how can we get a copy of the books? Anybody want a copy of long shot? How do you get a copy?
You can go to Amazon. You can go to Haymarket, and it's there, man. Barnes & Noble also.
How about the 2 dates you guys put out? Can they purchase books them days also?
Absolutely.
On 22nd. No question. So listen, we didn't bring him here for nothing. He gave us good knowledge. Now let's show the support. 22nd, 28th, we got to get
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal book. Phenomenal book. Phenomenal book, man. You are a very gifted writer.
Appreciate you, brother. Right, Thank you, man.
I really appreciate you coming to the show, man. I really appreciate you giving your word for the little man.
Oh, man, it's all good.
Little man. Good. And we wanted to say thank you to Miss Madeline Freeman on Divas Den, right? Divas Den. You know, when your show run, Madeline? Every third Saturday at what time? 10 o'clock. Check her out. Every third Saturday at 10 o'clock.
Peace out, Noah and Mommy.
Separation of support. We are here with Chicago Bulls legend Craig Hodges in the building. Intellectual Radio. Thanks for listening to Jaw Jacking with Bob and TC. Deuces.